I have a part of the show that's rather long, but I will read it. This person is G.
What's up, G?
What's happening, G?
What up, G? And rest in peace to my little white boy G from Seattle who passed a few months ago. I got to say that again if I didn't say it the first time. Shout out to G. Rest in peace. All right, but this G says, I think sometimes when you guys cover things like the Stephen A. Smith Bronny topic, you occasionally miss the mark because you either personally know one of the subjects of discussion or because you empathize in some way as a fellow public figure, broadcaster, etc. So I wanted to try to give you an outside perspective on the topic as someone who isn't connected in any way.
Okay.
I don't know Stephen A. Smith. I don't know LeBron. I don't know anyone with the Lakers, ESPN, or anyone involved. I'm just a fan and want to tell you why I think what Stephen A. Smith does is both nasty and distinctly different from, say, how Mark might critique Bronny. You all know for a fact that Stephen A. Smith doesn't think Bronny deserved to be taken with the 55th pick, right? He doesn't think he belongs in the league. He thinks it's nothing more than nepotism and leverage. He's covered it ad nauseum. I need to make the font bigger. He's covered it ad nauseum on his show. And he says he does it because it's his job to cover the NBA and relevant storylines. So he has to talk about it. And as you all say, Bronny chose to be a professional basketball player, so he has therefore subjected and opened himself up to any and all critiques, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair.
I'm following.
But let me ask you, what is Stephen A. Smith's opinion about the 54th pick in that draft? What's his opinion about the 44th pick? Do any of you know what he thinks about the 34th pick? What's his opinion about the 24th pick? Quick, off the top of your head. I want someone on that couch to tell me what Stephen A. Smith's opinion is of Zachary Rishisher.
I think we've said this opinion, but carry on, G.
Well, he's got a lot more to go here.
Okay.
You don't know, and that's the point. See, I would have said that it's fair to critique Bronny and not the 54th pick because by the sheer nature of his name and lineage, Bronny is a bigger storyline. But he was also the 55th pick. Zachary Rishisher was the #1 overall pick in that draft. Who the fuck is that? What draft you talking
Maybe
about?
you're talking about the second round.
Oh, okay. The first overall pick every year is a guy that the NBA hopes and prays can someday turn into the face of the league. He should absolutely be a storyline, and I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of listeners not only can't tell me what Stephen A. Smith's opinion of him is, but they probably don't know who he is or where he plays. But you know for a fact that Bronny doesn't belong in the league because the biggest name in sports broadcasting on the biggest show and on the biggest network routinely tells you both directly and indirectly that Bronny doesn't belong. Look, Bronny James isn't LeBron, but he was a McDonald's All-American and a starter on a legitimate D1 team before he had a fucking heart attack. And if that wasn't enough, he has 1 percentile athleticism in the history of the world. Yeah, I think an NBA team might take a swing on the kid. You want to see real nepotism? Tell me why Stephen A. Smith's daughter is getting airtime on the biggest platform in sports media.
But Rishisher was the first pick.
He's number one pick by Atlanta in 2024. Yeah,
well,
from France. He's from France.
Is her resume in journalism equivalent to Bronny's in basketball? And even if it is her resume better than the millions of people out there that have been grinding away for years in the sports media and journalism space and would kill for a couple minutes every now and then on ESPN's First Take? Or did Stephen A. Smith use his power and leverage to get her airtime? Stephen A. can spin the narratives any way he wants. That show was not founded on the Dallas Cowboys or Tim Tebow or Alabama football or Linsanity. First Take built an empire mainly off its patriarch, Skip Bayless, coming in every single day and finding some new way to kick LeBron's back in no matter what the topic was. And when Skip left, Stephen A. took up the mantle by constantly taking passive-aggressive, snarky pot shots at LeBron with sarcastic graphics and title bars, sassy jabs, damning with faint praise. Oops. Screen darkened. Damning with faint praise and all other sorts of petty bullshit to convince a generation of fans that the guy Stephen A. Smith himself admittedly has ranked as the second greatest basketball player to ever play the game is nothing more than a whiny, petulant, unimpressive, soft-hearted diva. And even though LeBron has occasionally taken a little shot here and there in the media, for the most part, he's taken it all on the chin for the past 23 years because he understood the weight that comes with being the face of the NBA. But now, after all of that, after decades of careers, television shows, and networks being built off kicking my back in, as I'm on my way out the door, you're still taking shots at me by crucifying my kid. Nah, dog. Now I gotta come see you. Every segment, Stephen A. says athletes got his number. Every segment, he talks about how easy it is to find him and that he's at the games. Every segment, he says that they could talk to him at any point. Well, Bron pulled up and you wasn't about it. Or maybe, just maybe, you knew you were in the wrong. I get it. Stephen A's all of our friend. But there are a lot of topics, including LeBron, where I think Stephen A's pretty foul and doesn't deserve bail. And the more I hear about political parties considering him for office, the sicker I get about it. A rich, charismatic, loudmouthed, politically inexperienced, egotistical celebrity who takes zero accountability and usually doesn't know what he's talking about, but is absolutely sure he's right. Running this country? Yeah, that one hits a little too close to home at the moment for my liking. End quote.
That's what's happening right now.
Tell me about it.
The president of the United States is everything that he just described.
I get it. I get it.
But I think homeboy is mistaken in a few points.
I agree.
I think he's mistaken in one.
Have at it.
He was the 55th pick. Cool. Your father is arguably a top 3 basketball player to ever lace up sneakers. Fair or unfair, you will be the subject of the media. So if he was great, he would be the subject of the media. He's not so great, he's still going to be the subject of the media based on who your father is. So you got to take the goods and the bads that come along with who your father is. So to his point, it's beating a dead horse, bro. I just think that Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion, didn't never say anything negative about Bronny James. I think he said something negative about his basketball ability, and I think that is what he is paid to do. If we were in here critiquing rappers and Trey came in and Trey didn't have dope bars and somebody said Trey don't have dope bars, they're not taking a shot at Trey. He didn't say anything about Trey's personal anything. He said, I don't think he's a good enough basketball player to be in the NBA, and he's well within his right to say that. I don't think that's disrespectful to Bron or Bronny.
But when you start saying, like, as a father, you should step in and you shouldn't allow it, like, you made it, you took it more than basketball. You made it damn near an attack on LeBron's father skills by allowing your son to join, even enter the draft.
I would have a word for anybody that chose to critique Stephen A's daughter as a broadcaster because she's getting main airtime on whatever channel he chooses to put her on. I would think that's foul, not just because she's underage, but because why would you do it?
And bigger than that.
Why would you do it?
Everybody on these couches, sat here and
I want to hear from Mark on that.
Hold up. Everybody on these couches sat up here and said, yo, I appreciate the nepotism.
Oh, that's a fact.
Every motherfucker in this room said, yo, I don't, because again, the Bronny situation is two-sided. One is LeBron James has put his blood, sweat, and tears into building a league. I don't give a fuck if my son not good enough to be here. So what? Go make my son a multimillionaire because I earned for my son to be a multimillionaire. Then there's a basketball conversation that says, yo, yeah, he was a McDonald All-American. He might not have been All-State. He might not even deserve to be a McDonald All-American in some people's opinion. So that's two totally different conversations.
There's also the third side of that, which is the business conversation. Is this man is gonna say James on the back of his jersey,
and we gonna market
he's gonna sell a shitload of
and
them.
we gonna market it.
So he's worth all the press, all the oversized for his draft status, money that he got, anything, because he's going to sell tickets, he's going to sell impressions on media, on the internet. He's worth every cent. Now, I think there's a whole lot of both things can be true in this whole email and diatribe.
Yeah, it's a lot of nuance. I think respectfully, I think that person's doing a lot of apples and oranges comparisons.
He is.
But I agree. I think we can critique Bronny James as a basketball player, and that should be the end of it. I agree with you. We shouldn't be critiquing LeBron as a father.
Dad.
Yeah,
as a parent. Yeah,
the two don't have to. Yeah.
Yep. But even that is not an attack on Bronny. That's an attack on LeBron. And if LeBron wants to take that up, I think he has a right to. He says Stephen A. said you have my phone number, but he didn't call him. He rolled up on him in the stadium, which is different. I think the whole point is we can have this conversation offline, off the record, and build a relationship. He don't owe Stephen A. that, but I do think that, again, that's apples and oranges. I get the point about Stephen A.'s daughter. But again, there's a difference between bringing your kid on as your kid, as a kind of a fun thing for a broadcast, and bringing her on as a
system to
and bringing her on as a co-host, right? Because if you bring your daughter on to be a co-host, and now you're stepping over other people's resumes, then yeah, I do have a right to say this isn't good TV. I'm not going to attack her as a person, especially as an underage person, but even as a grown person, but I'm going to say
I don't even like talking about
right. Me either. Yeah. But I don't think it'd be wrong if they brought her on Inside the NBA to be an analyst
for people to say.
I don't enjoy this.
I also don't think that that's necessarily an attack on their fathering ability, by the way. I think that's like a shout out to your fathering.
Exactly.
Like, yo, you pull all these strings. That's dope.
Right. But what I wouldn't say is, as a dad, you should be embarrassed to have your daughter on TV like that. Because then that's where it becomes weird. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think I would not have said what Stephen A. said.
Sure.
But I do think it's okay, again, if you put someone in a position to be that merits critique, to criticize them. And I think that's the difference between the Stephen A. example and the Bronny example. And also, you got to take the good with the bad. Bronny James was not the first best player on his high school team. He wasn't the second best player on his high school team. His numbers didn't deserve and I'm not saying that to criticize him right now.
Kick his back.
No, I'm not kicking his back. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying we gave him a lot more attention, favorable attention, as a high school player and as a college player than he deserved too. But nobody was mad about that. Nobody was saying, why are we spending so much time showing the high school games of the fourth best player at Sierra Canyon? Or why are we spending so much time showing some? Because we didn't, because we were rooting for Bronny. We want him to win. I'm still rooting for him and want him to win. But no, you can't get mad. You can't accept the favorable coverage that wasn't deserved, and then get mad at the critique that wasn't deserved.
No Joe Budden.